people. I think the challenge is, of course, understanding perspectives, and I think that's where great managers do a great job, is they really take time to understand their team's perspective. Because I think, you know, there's a general assumption that we all kind of think similar things, and the world just doesn't work like that. I think that's the fascination and the art of a good trainer, and somebody who's able to have that wider awareness of perspective, but then to appreciate it and align it and assist people in the facilitation and, you know, inspiration of others in their day-to-day lives. So tips for Olympic performance in the workplace. I guess when I had the great privilege of competing at the highest level of sport. I mean, I do feel very privileged. First of all, I just want to acknowledge that. I came into the sport without the same physical talent as most of the people, so I also had the huge honour of competing for 15 years and retaining a high level performance. Coming at it with an understanding that you don't have to be the best physically in a world that there is a general understanding that you have to be the best physically. So there was a bit of a reinvention of conventional thinking in terms of how I went about what I did, and I basically adopted a series of traits that I recognised in others. And since retiring, I've had the huge pleasure of hooking up with my great colleague Roger Black and other Olympic medalists and performers, and digging into what are the traits that are consistent in sport that also apply to business. And there are various, of course there are. I'll be honest though, when I first retired, I was a little bit sceptical and a bit cynical, if I'm brutally honest. I came into I battled my way through sport using a lot of the psych principles of performing to my maximum. But in terms of the translation into the workplace, when I first retired, I was like, really? Come on. A runner, a thrower? How can that work? 5 years in, a few more years than that actually, if you take from retirement day one, I completely get it. Because it is exactly the same. It is exactly the same in terms of the soft skills. I totally understand it's not the same in terms of the skills or in terms of the knowledge, but in terms of how we choose to behave on a day-to-day basis, it's exactly the same in terms of the traits that we now recognise as being the backbone of any high-level performance, in finding your passion, creating a belief, having the clarity, and taking the time to communicate that clarity if it's a team perspective, because these traits very much relate to the team as much as they do the individual. Surround yourself with talented people. I think it's one thing that successful people do. And the fifth and last one is the ability to deliver your maximum. That ability to, you know, not plateau in your life and say, well, I do what I do and I have my weaknesses and that's okay. It's to constantly look for the next rung on the ladder, to challenge ourselves to perform at an even higher level, to say, no, I can do that better, whatever that is. And you know, to retain the belief and retain the passion that we can constantly improve and constantly seek out appropriate change, and all that stuff that is the soft skills, as I talk about it in a sporting context, typically to business audiences. There is a natural translation, because it's exactly the same from a one-man band entrepreneur right up to you know, a huge multinational organisation in terms of how they operate. I think it's great. I think any event that encourages sharing of best practice, I think that's the key here today. It's about exploring new ideas. It's about meeting new people, no matter whether you're starting out as a young coach, trainer, whatever your aspiration is, or whether you've been doing it for 30, 40 years. I think the opportunity to share the same room, breathe the same air as other people with the same journey, challenge other people's perspectives and expect to have yours challenged, and stand up for what you believe is right or wrong or whatever that's the environment where great performances evolve from, and therefore I think the event will be a huge success going on from today, and going on from when the doors close and people go home, and the networks and the communication that ensues. Oh, there's the crystal ball question, eh? How are Britain going to do in the Olympic Games? Look, I come at this from as an athlete, retired athlete, who love the championships. I absolutely love the championships, and not everyone does. Some people shrink, some people don't like it, don't find that difficult, but the vast majority do. And I think what will happen is the British athletes who do like it, which is the majority to be fair, will also be buoyed by the fact that they're on home turf. And I think that home advantage is a real fascinating aspect of performance. It's hard to really pin down what it means. There's a little bit of orientation, there's a little bit of pride, animal instinct of, you're on my territory and I'm going to defend it to the hilt. Walking out into the Olympic Stadium in a British vest, in front of the British crowd, you're going to perform out your socks, aren't you? And I think, to answer the question directly, 19 gold medals in Beijing, we've got to be looking at more. We've got to be looking at 20 plus, because I think it's not going to turn the home, what I'm talking about isn't going to turn people who, we're never going to make the final into gold medalists. That doesn't happen, that's unrealistic. I think what can happen is fourths can become thirds, bronze can become silver, and silver can become gold, because those minute, the millimetres that it comes down to, but that shares out the medals, fractions of seconds, are what makes the difference, and that little bit of fire in the belly can go a long way.